Hello, welcome to the Red Pill News Dispensary, the only channel that, well, I'm not going to say only anything, but we tell the truth here, and you can trust the host. I promise you that. I always wanted to apologize a couple nights ago, the night before last. Well, last night, it was football and stuff, so I was working, but the night before I did a video, a lot of great content in the video too. And I didn't have my mic because I hadn't gone on in like 2 weeks at that point. And I didn't have my mic, so it ended up sounding way worse than I thought it was sounding. Um, one person left a really nasty comment though, and of course it was a dummy account, so I kind of have an idea what that's all about. And I don't really get it. It's like I told this person that I would hold back the rest of the information. I told them I'd hold back all the damning stuff I have of them and about them and their own mouth talking about things. Never ever released any of it because I keep my word. And now I get these dummy accounts trying to attack. So I don't know, but I would just shape up and get your minions in order. All right. And, that goes for other channels too. Certain channels that like to stop by and always check on me and check what I'm doing and try to get subs or whatever you do. Keep my name or anyone that knows me out of your mouth because I'm serious. I'm ready to like start saying names and throwing everyone under the bus. But that's not my style. Okay, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk about truth. I'm here to, and we're all truthers. We should be getting along. So when I see somebody, trying to make trouble, it makes me wonder. But yeah, the audio is horrible. So um, I I am going to find that mic today. Um, hey, okay, so well, it sound should be fine now. But the sound was no good the other night to my video. But what I wanted to talk about today is and what really bothers me about that other video is there was a lot of really good content in that video. I almost feel like redoing some of the information in that video. A lot of good information. I mean, maybe I'll just turn on closed captioning, and if you guys can tolerate the sound of it, until I find the mic. So for now, I'm just gonna do it on the phone. But I got a new camera, everything. But my new mic, I hadn't used it in so long. The baby unplugs things, and I'll find it. It's probably in one of her toy chests. But no, I'm talking about 2 days ago. The sound on that one. This video. So My point is, I might just do closed captioning. But then again, I don't know how many people are really gonna go and watch an old video just to read the closed captioning. But it's really good information, so I might redo some of that information. I just think it's important for people to know. Also, one thing I also had a theory about the hurricane during that video. Um, but the facts, when I say something, and I said this is just my thoughts, my opinion, but the facts, as time has gone since, they just don't support it. I was thinking that. Well, I do. First of all, I was thinking that this is weather modification, and that this hurricane did not act like a normal hurricane. It grew way too fast, and hurricanes do stall, but I don't know. Maybe they do now. Ever since Harvey, I mean, that blew my mind. But this hurricane acted erratically. When you see all the forecasts be so wrong, just like they were with Harvey, just like they were with Florence, all three of those hurricanes, I'm convinced, including this one, Dorian, weather modification had a heavy hand in how that hurricane behaved. Except at the time, my what I was thinking about her, and now I actually, I've been doing research because I had a hunch. But the facts were when the facts weren't feeding my theory, they ended up actually supporting a different theory, and that's what I want to run by you guys. So I was thinking that China honestly sent this hurricane. I know that they're upset with us. You know, they blame us for what's going on in Hong Kong. They blame us, obviously, for a lot. And the trade war is hurting them. You know, despite what the media wants to tell you, it is hurting them. You know, it's kind of like a war of attrition on that front. Although we're not feeling it that hard. They keep saying that we're going to. I'm not. You're not. You know, I don't know. And we're gonna feel it before the businesses because they pass to the consumer. So, you know, I think that this trade war ended up being a great thing, and he's made everyone else look stupid as far as the president. But I was thinking that because they have, you know, I wouldn't say on par as far like they don't have like the same type of technology we do, but they still have extremely advanced technology and also satellites where they can use energy in a direct manner, if you know what I'm saying, to control weather and to manipulate weather. And that's what I thought that they had done. I thought they were sending it our way, and we use our technology to kind of keep it away from the mainland. And that's why it kind of went up the East Coast until it weakened. And I'm not saying that, you know, for anyone living in the Carolinas, trust me, I don't take it lightly at all. You guys are getting bashed by horrible weather, you know, like a category one. I mean, it's still hurricane force and tropical storm force. I mean, that's horrible. And there's going to be cleanup. There's going to be a lot of problems caused by it. But, I mean, what hit the Bahamas was like almost biblical. They almost like started using categories they never used before. So I just felt like there was a huge story there, and I feel like I totally missed it. And for those of you guys who know me for a while, you guys know that I'm not scared to say, you know what, I think I was wrong. I don't think the Chinese did that. I think the Americans did it, and I think there's a reason we did it. And once I started having that mindset, that's when all the facts started to make sense. So that's when I knew I was on the right path. And then I saw other channels talking about it, and they were in agreement. They must have seen some of the same information I did. Some of them made very good videos. I put links to those videos. Mike Morales did a very good video. You know, that's more so about like the science of it and all that. But you know, mine is more so just the overall research that I'm trying to get to you guys. So let me get to the point. Okay, so we all know that this hurricane became a monster. I mean, the eye, still to this day, the eye of that hurricane is still like formed beautifully. You know, it's a solid eye. Still, all this time later. I mean, that was a monster storm. Have you guys seen the pictures of the Bahamas? It's unbelievable. They say 20, 30 dead, but we're talking thousands missing. I mean, when you lose your comms and, you know, there's gonna be it's hard to identify the dead, and especially when there's gonna be so many bodies, the cleanup, a lot of people aren't even there. It's an island. People have to come from other places like the U.S. Coast Guard, Navy ships, you know, people that lived in the Bahamas have to come back there. You know, there's a lot that has to go on for them to identify bodies, for them to go through the records, for them to, you know, kind of know who was where, and a lot of stuff. um, so there's thousands missing. Now, a lot of those missing are, of course, like I said, also a result of the comms, you know, being down. They may be alive at, you know, at a, you know, with some other people. You know, there's a multitude of scenarios. But my point is that thousands dead, you have to think about communications being down. You know, it takes you back a couple hundred years, right? So it's like, you know, it's going to take a long time to figure out. how many are really dead, and it's going to be a way higher number than what they got. And also, there's going to be a lot of people who are just simply missing because they can't be reached. There's no cell phones. Obviously, they don't even have basic communications there right now. So I do feel very bad for these people, but like in all things, when there's extremely powerful and rich people at war, basically, the poorest people end up being the collateral damage, and it's sad, but it's just a fact of life and always has been. And I wish it was different. But basically, I want to talk about um, what I think really went on with this storm. I think that there's a reason that this storm did what it did, and it also correlates with some of the things that Trump's been tweeting about. Now I know this one of these things will sound a little bit ridiculous, but you got to remember Trump. He is. I was just talking to someone about this. He is a master at manipulating the media, and when you think about it, it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple to manipulate the media because the media is just no matter what he says, they're gonna hate him, and they are going to say the opposite. He could say something that's like universal, like things that used to be democratic values. Like, I believe that no child should starve in America, and then CNN will find a way like, well, I mean, are our children too fat? Like, I mean, I know that's why a stupid example. I mean, it is a stupid example, but like that's how ridiculous they get sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally say like, no child should starve, and they're like, well, kids are obese and the diabetic rates, and they'll find some way to go after what he's saying you know, or they'll like have a video that's like, doctored. You don't really see the whole picture, and he's eating, and there's starving children near him, and he's eating. Even though he's probably just fed them all. I'm just saying they'll always figure out a way to go against what he's saying or doing, whatever his agenda is. Even though most of what he's done, policy wise, whether it be domestic, foreign policy, what he's done on basically every front that he said that he would fix things. It's amazing what he's done, and he doesn't waste his time on losing battles. He'll just move on when he sees like, all right, this isn't gonna fly, and then the courts are gonna move next thing, and he'll move on. He would have had health care too if it wasn't for No Name McCain. We'll just call him No Name because he'll be being mentioned in this video as well. Okay, so why would we use this technology and this energy in such a direct manner, if you know what I'm saying, to manipulate the weather, to have such a monster, like apocalyptic hurricane come so close to the United States, kind of clip one of our territories, and ruin beautiful land in the Bahamas? Why would we do that? Well, when you look at Trump's tweet, what he said was, it looks like the hurricane is going to hit dead center. Well, and by the way, just so you guys know, everything that I'm talking about, all my research is backed up. Everything is in the comments, in the description. So you want to see any of my research. I also put up one of Mike Morales' videos because I think he does a good job of explaining the scientific factor, and how abnormal this hurricane really was. I can say it, but it's just what does that mean? You know what I mean? If I was talking about cryptology or radio or sports, yeah, then I'm an expert. But I'm not a hurricane expert. He is. So, he's a weather expert, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's willing to actually talk about it freely. Whereas, the people you see on TV are pretty they're pretty controlled. Even if they wanted to be honest, they make it very difficult for them to ever work again. But anyway, so uh, so we said that it's gonna hit dead center. So when I started looking at that, I started looking like, okay, well, let me look at this, and I kind of backed it up. I had this like app, and I backed it up, and I started looking at where this track of the hurricane was going. Sure enough, the first place it went over that really was interesting, the eye of this storm went right over Epstein Island, which was very interesting. And that's about when that was right after he tweeted the dead center thing. So then I was like, hold on, let me see where this goes. So I continued to track where the eye was. Basically, because if you're in the eye, that means you're getting hit by the front end, and then even worse, usually, especially if you're in a coastal region here in the Atlantic, it's the back end that really kills you, because the winds are just as strong, if not stronger, and that's what they brings the water. Because we all know, it goes clockwise, so it's kind of like, you get hit with all those real bad winds, then the eye, and then the back end comes, bang, and it brings the water too. So that's when usually the back end is really where the trouble is. They always say it's the northeast sector that's the strongest, but I don't know. Just depending on how it's hitting or where, usually that back end. I know that that brings water with it. That brings high winds. Again, these are some of the reasons why I put Mike Morales' information in the description, so you can get the real science of it and the actual terminology. But I'm gonna connect some dots for you. So I started following that track. So the track of the dead center of that storm goes over Epstein Island. Then, now you guys know we've gone over Epstein a lot on this channel. We went over the black book, we went over flight logs, we went over all the court documents. I mean, we had stuff before anyone had it here at this channel. I have a great article, July 3rd, that shows future proofs past. Let me know if you want me to drop it here. Um, you know what? If you could email it to me. But that sounds great, because you know what? That's coming as well. And future does prove fast, and this whole time, that whole thing with Q is legit. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. I mean, for those of you who followed it like me, like you used to stay up like all night cracking it, linking things. A lot. I number one, like when things happen, like I know what I'm like. Well, I already knew about that 2 years ago, and they just announced it in the news now. So it's like this is real. Q was real this whole time. But not only that, like it kind of taught me how to research better. It kind of like showed me how they like when you're trying to get information on people, it's not going to be just out there to find. You have to really like use family, use businesses, and the business is only going to link to some shell, nothing company. A lot of times they're nonprofits. You want to see who else there is in the business, and there's a lot of ways to do the research. But I'm sorry, I got kind of thrown off. But I'm gonna be doing a whole video on that too. A lot of like Q proofs and like a lot of things that I just think will blow people's minds. But also, while doing it I didn't realize, but I retained a lot of information that ends up coming up later. And I'm sure you guys have too, like watching this channel. For instance, like if you guys remember with the Epstein, when we were going over all the names and the court documents and all the information about the Epstein situation and his island and how they used to do it. They used to use Manhattan as one of their little honeypots for children. They had like all in one block. They had a bunch of medical facilities, a bunch of places for like daycares. They also had like a place for like orphanage types, like like the kids without parents, or the parents lose their kids. A lot of those types of places, along with high schools that had like the highest dropout rates in the country. They were all in these couple blocks. And it's the same place where like the Rockefellers own a bunch of it. The Rockefellers own like half of the stuff, if not more than half actually, at least on those blocks. So all that stuff in a matter of 2 blocks. A lot of hospitals, a lot of daycares, high schools, or failing high schools, and like these types of places where they have, um, you know, um, kids, teenagers that don't have parents. All that in like a two block radius, which these are Manhattan blocks, so there was a lot there. But that was one of his little honey pots, and he would have them sent over to his mansion. Another one that he had, we know that I remember that I was talking about Epstein Island and everything, and I was talking about Disney and on how Disney was involved, and that was another honeypot that he used. Was the Castaway? Is it called Castaway Bay or Castaway Island? And I remember I said that I actually called in my Fugo with something else, and then I brought that up as well. And a lot of people were like, no, 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 that's different. That's not true. No, Dex at the end came on and corrected me, well, attempted to correct me, and he said, and no, no, I'm not talking bad about Dex, but this is what happened. I'm gonna tell you what happened because it has to do with this. So he said, no, no, that's on St. Thomas. And I'm like, and he goes, the cruises are on St. Thomas. They're not doing cruises, off of Jefferson Island. So of course I wasn't gonna call back, and I'm not gonna go through all that trouble. So I just made a video and I said, listen, Dex, I don't know if you didn't understand. I said what I said was they were scuba diving. They had like scuba diving and other activities at Epstein Island, and they would do it right on the shores of Epstein Island, and that's true. And on St. Thomas is where they ran the Disney cruises out of. Now, on St. Thomas, mind you, the ports on the eastern side were all owned by Jeffrey Epstein. So, you know, and where was the Disney part of it? On the eastern side of the island. Actually, like more like south as well. And that's another place where he would have a bunch of children somehow. And of course, you think of Disneyland, Disney World. Oh, well, the parents aren't going to let them out of their sight. Well, you'd be surprised how many missing children there were. And also, there's a lot of kids that, this is just a place where they can go and be happy. They're not from America, they're from third world countries. And, St. Thomas isn't a American colony. As far as I know, I don't think it. Oh no, actually, it's the U.S. version. That so St. Thomas, yeah, but still, there's people from all over the world there. You got the Dutch, the British, the Chinese, all in one area. And what I'm saying basically is that that whole east coast of St. Thomas, and you would see it in his flight logs if you guys remember. He was flying literally almost like daily, St. Thomas to Epstein Island. And there was a lot of times where out of nowhere he would just be in St. Thomas, but then he'd fly out of Epstein Island. So he had another way to get to the Epstein Island from. I almost don't feel like I'm saying that too many times, from St. Thomas. And I wonder what that other way is. Maybe helicopter. Um, maybe there could be a million ways. There's rumors he had a submarine, which actually ended up being true, I guess. But I think it was like a real small, like just kind of like toys for a billionaire type of thing. I don't think that they were actually trafficking people on it, but I could be wrong. I try to, I just think that's a little bit ridiculous. I just don't think that's realistic. That's just too easy to get caught like that. But what I do know is that Disney that Disneyland of Castaway or whatever it was, that was another honeypot for Epstein. He was connected with it. One of the big things they did in association with him, at least on the surface, that looked legit to make him look legit, is he would have rent out the land around, well, not the land, but the water around his island, because to a certain point you still own it, especially down there. The When you go in the water, if any of you guys ever been down there, it's like you don't just like hit deep water. Like literally, you can, for as far as you can see, it'll be like the deepest will be 20 feet. So it's like not even deep around a lot of those islands. So obviously, at some point, it must have been it must have been some kind of drop off if they were snorkeling. But maybe for kids, maybe 20, 25 feet is perfect. I don't know. I never did stuff like that. But for the within the Navy, we did some stuff. But I never did like stuff as a kid, snorkeling or anything like that. But anyways, that was another honeypot of his was Disney, and they had their own little operation going there. They would do it off of Epstein Island. Now, what's this got to do with the hurricane? Well, turns out they ended up leaving a bunch of their staff there, which was messed up, and that made the news. But all that did was lead me to the fact that after it went over Epstein, the next thing it went over was Disney. They had their location at Disney, but they moved the people to another location they have that was more south. And they said that this is going to be more like it's not going to be hit direct at all. So they moved them south. So then you continue to go, and then there's the Bahamas. Now, the Bahamas, along with some of these other islands, but especially the Bahamas, they had sold their ports. Like during like the Obama years, most likely, getting that ass kicked in trade. I wonder why. They bought a bunch of ports. I mean, we know at one point they even bought L.A. port. I mean, so they bought the on the Bahamas. The one of the biggest ports down there is Freeport in the Bahamas, and the Chinese bought that. And along with the Chinese, the Dutch also bought a bunch of these ports as well. And they actually recently went into a business partnership together. And so basically, Shanghai and Denmark, they went into this business together. And I think it has a lot to do because China's buying up all the ports. And the number one business out of Denmark is, I believe the pronunciation is Maersk or Maersk, Maersk, right? Maersk, the accent I have to. So that's the name of their number one business. Now you guys might have heard of it, and I saw somebody else who came across this information as well, and they found it very interesting. So you have China buying up all the ports. You also have the Dutch buying up ports. You have Maersk, let's say Maersk, that company. That's their number one company. Their biggest business is Maersk. And like I said, they actually created this partnership with Shanghai. So now we find out that who are the main players down where this hurricane hit? Well, Epstein Island, Disneyland, and then the next main spot that got hit was the port, Freeport. And that's where Chinese, they own that, along with a bunch of other little ports that either them or the Dutch bought as well. And they own them all. Now, the what really makes Freeport, well, the reason it's probably, like the most popular and lucrative port down there is because it's really like the only port where it's just, like I said, how I was talking about the water, it's shallow. Well, at this particular port, literally, as soon as you like you go to walk into that ocean, you better be careful because it just drops to thousands of feet deep out of nowhere, and not that far offshore. It just drops. So it goes very, very deep. And this is all the Bermuda Triangle, by the way. But it gets very deep off Freeport. So, perfect place for large ships. You know what else is a perfect place for? Submarines. Yeah. All right. And you look at any place where they have submarines, you need a deep bay or port. You need it. Very deep, in fact. And there's an extremely deep port off of Freeport. So, and also another thing, hey Kelly Kibo, you know what I was thinking while I was doing all this research was watch the water, and it was just like, huh, there's something to. So as I was researching this, I'm like, wow, this is just like, so Trump's what made me even think dead center. Then it goes dead, literally the eye, dead center. And by the way, like I said, everything's in the description. You'll find something in the description that shows the track, a video of the track. You'll see information about Maersk, who, by the way, the owner of Maersk, it's like, oh man, what's it's in the information underneath. It's a Wikipedia of them, but their name goes back, just so you know. And if you want, you can proof check everything I said, because nothing I'm saying is just to be said. This is all fact. I'm just doing it off the top of my head because I'm doing it on my phone instead of on the computer. I wish I was doing it on the computer, or however the audio would sound the way it did last time. And it's just, you know, I wasted a lot of time and a lot of information on that video that I'm probably gonna have to put a lot of that info out again because a lot of very important information on that video. So I'd rather do it like this, and I do a pretty good job doing it from memory, I think. I might have to like dance around because I'm doing it all from memory. But so Maersk, the owner, by the way, I can't remember the last name right now, but it's in the description. Along with ways to donate to the account or ways to donate to me. If you donate to the account, there's actually a couple people, like Kelly Keeble is one of them. I have a receipt for her. Um, Drop. And then there's two other ones that money hasn't been spent yet, but it's still in the account. If it's for the channel, you'll get a receipt and all that. If you want to donate to me and my family, then there's ways to do that as well. So just I'll get that out of the way, and please like the video, and subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be like a roll. It's gonna be kind of like a couple weeks ago. I told you guys, hey, I have a lot of big stories coming. Well, I think I can say I delivered pretty confidently, and I think everyone would agree. Well, there's a lot of big stuff coming, and a lot of information I have, and this video right here is just something that I am correcting myself because I was thinking China did it to us, but no, I think the Americans did it. So the dead center, as Trump said, went over Epstein Island, the Disneyland that didn't exist, or there was no way for him to get the children to Epstein Island, although he owned all the ports on the eastern side, because on the western side and the southern side, China owns those ports. So that I had actually made a video about this before, talking about that exact area. And then the Bahamas, now we're talking about the Bahamas. um, at least this part of the Bahamas, Freeport. And so, and like I said, Maersk, the biggest company for Denmark, had just made a partnership with Shanghai. Okay, so all that said, all right, and also that the depth that it's what's very rare about that area down there is, and probably why they do snorkeling, is the water doesn't go that deep. No matter how far you go, it just takes a long time for it to get like ridiculously deep. So it's safer. But off Freeport, it drops thousands of feet, which is why You're not going to see anything listed as a sub base, but I'm telling you right now, and the thing is, all I can say is a source. I can't go further, but there's a submarine base there. Or let me put this another way. There, there is or was the ability to have submarines go in and out of that port on a regular basis. Not always friendly. In fact, usually not friendly. Okay? Not trying to scare anybody, nothing like that. It's just that's just what it is. All right? It's a very very deep port, and now it's owned by China. All right? We've said that a few times now, so you guys get that. Well, where did the dead center, the eye, which happens to still be a perfectly formed eye, where did that go? That went over that exact spot. That exact spot. That port. What did Trump tweet about 3 weeks ago that was laughed about? And it was kind of like a funny thing to even think about for a couple of days. That he was going to buy Greenland. Well, what was I saying earlier about Trump? There's a reason for everything he does. He is so savvy with the media. Like I said, he could say, no child should starve in America, and they'll talk about the obesity rates in schools. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what he does or says; they are just so against him, and people are realizing it more and more that no matter what he says or does, that there's going to be one channel that agrees with everything, and another channel or every other channel that disagrees with everything. There's no actual truth, and that's why there's so many people going to YouTube for news and for people, while they're at work, somebody who will do that research and present you facts, because we're not getting news like we always did, or at least thought we did. Maybe we're just waking up, because the whole global warming, 7 hours about global warming from every candidate on CNN, that was like so bad. But then again, in the 80s, I learned this on Hannity last night. All that they used to talk about then was the coming ice age. The only difference is I don't deny that the climate's getting warmer. I just deny that it's as man-made as they say. I mean, God created Earth. I think Earth is going to be fine, and I think Earth naturally goes through these minor heating, cooling, which is why in the 80s they thought we were going to an ice age. They said by 1990 it will be 6 degrees to cooler. By 2000 it will be 15 degrees cooler. That was the number one leading um, like uh, like climate scientist at the time. So he thought by now, 2019, I mean, we would just the whole Earth would be ice. So it's all BS, and it's anything that they can do that's gonna take away your rights. That's how you gotta look at it. How will this take away rights from me? How will if they were to enforce all these plans, will it take away rights from me? And the answer with what they were talking about, if you watch that, it was crazy. It was like how many rights can we take away from the American people, and just we're here with the government and we're here to help you. It's like the scariest words you could hear. So pretty scary to watch that. And I guess it didn't do too well either. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. So this hurricane nails Epstein Island, nails the honeypot that they had over at Disney. All right. It also nails those ports on St. Thomas that Dex thought he was correcting me. I ended up finding out I had to, you know, learn him something, and told him, hey, actually Epstein owns all those ports too, buddy. So yes, that is a honeypot of his. So, and and a lot of you guys, we went over all these documents, court docs, these the flight logs and everything. That's why you guys, some of this isn't as foreign to you. So then it goes right over Freeport. and it nails these Chinese ports, and one of them being Freeport itself, but also a bunch of other ports. And also, that happens to be a very deep port, which I can tell you from a source, and I couldn't put this is the only thing I'll say that's not in the description, but I'm telling you it's true. Submarines can and have, but don't anymore, go in and out of there. And when I say don't anymore, I say ever since this hurricane hit. So it didn't just hit either. It went there, it stalled, and it sat over the Bahamas. It sat on the Bahamas. It was going less than 1 mile per hour at one point. It sat on the Bahamas for 36 hours. When's the last time you seen that happen? Ever. Oh, yeah, there's one. Harvey. Remember that one? Wow. It went right into Houston, sat there, dropped loads of rain. It was like so obvious that it was, the energy of this storm might have been, you know, some kind of direct, if you know what I'm saying, result of something. And then it went back out to sea, and then goes back into Texas, right over Houston again, and dumps even more and hits it a second time. And both times that it hits, it just stalled and sat on it. Why do you think that happened? Why? Well, if you remember, somebody died very shortly after. Probably just a coincidence, right? Very powerful family. Not so powerful anymore. In fact, at this man's funeral, they handed out envelopes to all the bad actors because when else are you going to have them all in one room, right? So they all got an envelope from Gore to Clinton to both Clintons to all the Bushes. The only one that didn't get one, to Biden. The only one that didn't get one actually. So I guess I can actually say that he was kind of considered a lame duck president, but at least he wasn't crooked. It was Jimmy Carter, a Democrat. He wasn't crooked. He was kind of a lame duck president, but he wasn't crooked. The rest of them got an envelope. Oh, Mr. No Name? No, but um, there's one more example, and you're on. Kelly Key was a step ahead. So, no, George H.W. Bush in Houston, he had the ranch right out there. And remember all the talk, they said, well, if they ever go to get him, it's going to be a hell of a fight because where it is, he has like private security. I mean, he obviously has, Secret Service, but he has like his own like private security, like a mini army isn't the right word, but like a mini, a good amount of men. And he has all this, it's all underground. So it's like, how would you get to him? You know what I mean? There's probably all kinds of, it's a very dangerous mission. They flooded him out. And I firmly believe that. And he was dead months later. You know who else? A hurricane hit. It was supposed to be, this one's the opposite. Harvey ended up being way worse than they thought. It ended up really being like a water thing. Now you say, wow, but really, that beautiful city of Houston, they did all that just to get I don't know, like literally like the leader of the deep state, like Mr. New World Order, Mr. Thousand Points of Light himself, George H.W. Bush, the veteran, the fighter pilot, ace. Yes, that man. He was the true power in the family. Once he was gone, their power was gone. Their power was gone. His son, that was the president, he was just taking orders from his dad. That's why he invaded the same country his father did. Come on, Cheney was the real power there as far as like holding a position. Um, as far as Jeb, I think we all saw what he is. The real power in that family was, you know, um, 41, George Bush 41. And he was down there in that bunker, I think, at the time. And this is the time I think they're having a tough time talking about him. Q was talking about him at the time, and then Javi hit. I don't know. And then it went back over Houston. Now, yes, so I think they would do that in order to flood him out. Yes, I think they would. And then Hurricane Florence came. Well, everyone knows McCain as the Arizona man. We're not calling no name, all right, because it has nothing to do with him being a president or anything like that. But you know, for all this ISIS crap, all of it. You know what ISIS calls him? The Godfather. That's what they call him. They call him the Godfather because he's literally the godfather of ISIS. He brought all the weapons. He had the meetings. There's pictures if you guys haven't seen them with him sitting down with the leader of ISIS. He's sitting down with all the top generals of ISIS, and he's sitting there. And they're gonna supply them weapons and all this stuff. And what do you think that? I mean, how do you think that out of nowhere they started just like taking over all this land? They took over most of Syria and half of Iraq in like one summer. I mean, how could they do that with all the American lives lost taking Iraq? How? Well, not even taking Iraq. We didn't lose many at all. Honestly, voice skulls a mouth, especially when your God all of a sudden talks to you. You might drop your weapons and get out of your tank and not even fight. But once we did take it, you know, everybody just kind of like, what really people were dying when we were policing it, which we should never be doing again. Like even Afghanistan right now, someone a Green Beret just died a couple days ago, and 2 weeks before that, two I believe they were Green Berets or Navy SEALs, but they died 2 weeks ago. So it's like, and if you're over there, if you're in Afghanistan nowadays, you're either military intelligence, CIA, or one of these, basically like some or special forces like Green Beret, Navy SEAL. I mean, just look at anyone who's died over there recently. It's a Green Beret or a SEAL or something like that. But the most recent one was a Green Beret. I know that for a fact. And we were talking about him at my last meeting. Um, we do these a veteran meeting up here in Boston. And anyways, so no name, nobody cares about him. When he was on his ship, do you know that he killed? What was it? What was the exact number? Like 53 people, something like that, injured. Oh no, he killed or injured like 50 or 63 people. I think like 20 something of them died. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a lot. It's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens because he thought he was some kind of hotshot, except he was literally last in his class. Killed a bunch of people on the ship, being an idiot. So, and when you're on the flight deck, you can't be an idiot like that. And he was, and he caused a huge fire and killed a bunch of sailors. Then he flew off, and it's not. They shot him down very easily because he wasn't that good of a pilot either. And I don't like talking bad about dead men, especially veterans. I really don't. And it's not like we're learning things after he died. No, while he was alive, it was confirmed to me, and I knew for a fact what he did with ISIS and why they call him No Name. He's lucky that he even got that parade and the funeral that he did, in my opinion. Some of you might not agree with that. That's how I feel. And trust me, I do not take lightly talking about dead men. I don't take lightly ever talking about veterans. Ever. So if any of you out there want to talk shit about veterans, just know I got my eyes on you. But when it comes to No Name, all right, he caused so many people to die while he was in, trying to be a cowboy on a flight deck back in, this is back in Vietnam era. Are you kidding me? And then what he did now as a senator, first of all, he got caught in a huge scandal with a bunch of banks and insurance companies. Somehow that was forgotten. So next, basically, he went over, sat down with, um, the leader of ISIS, the one who claimed the caliphate. Yeah, that guy. He's sitting down with him and all the top generals, sitting down. About 2 months after that photo, they had all the armory, all the weapons, tanks, uh, Humvees, everything they needed. All of a sudden, they had it, along with money, all kinds of stuff, cyber capability, amazing cyber capability. All right, so they had it all, and then they started invading and brought a lot of suffering on this world, beheading Americans. You guys forget all that. All right, so anyway, so if you guys remember Hurricane Florence, well, at the time, no name that now this was the opposite of Javi. This one was supposed to be really bad, and this is one of those ones that there's so many joke videos about making fun of the media where they're like holding on to a pole and like they look like they're gonna fly away with like Dorothy when she's being flown. And then literally you see like a guy walking. He's not even holding like his like 5-year-old's hand, and they're just like walking by in the background, like, and the little kid like hop a puddle and then just keep walking. And meanwhile, the news reporter doesn't know that they're there, like making it so obvious that he's just fake as you know what. And he's holding on to the thing, like pretending that like one foot's starting to come off the ground, like whoa, whoa, and there's like a little kid walking by. Oh, those are some of the funniest videos. So yeah, Florence, they really played that one up. And then people were pissed and they were like, well, better safe than sorry. I'll never, this and that because it saves lives. So what? You put people in mass hysteria? You know what I mean? No, no, I don't agree with that. You just tell people what the deal is. Like, I don't know. The media thinks that people are like dumber than they are. And it's like, but then again, they have a point. People are pretty stupid that they believe half they do. It's unbelievable. But then again, they're so busy working and paying their bills. I don't know. They're not also trying to figure out like, am I being BS'd here? Like, the way that we all think. We all naturally think like that. I think. Um. So, anyways, so at Florence, there was one. Now, see, North Carolina is unique in a way though, because they call it like the box's jaw of the country, because a lot of hurricanes will do what Dorian just did, and just missed Florida. And once it misses Florida, if it doesn't hit Florida and it doesn't hit Georgia or South Carolina, it'll just kind of go out to sea. But a lot of times what happens is it'll come right up, it'll just go, it looks like it's going to go out to sea, but bang, it'll clip like the islands of North Carolina, like Oak Island, places like that. Like, is that the same place they do that show, by the way? The mystery of Oak Island, or the hunt for the treasure on Oak Island. I'm just curious, is that the same place as North Carolina? If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. So when it came to this with Florence, it looked like it was gonna miss everything, and it actually did go into the Carolinas. But everybody was like, "This." It was nothing. It was like literally nothing. If you've seen the guys on TV, you would think something else. I mean, you'd see them like, "He's gonna fly away," and then you see a kid behind him. It's like, "Oh, this is all fake." A lot of people started waking up. I think that was like a red pill storm for people. Also, Javi was, and Dorian. I think a lot of people missed, including myself, missed the whole point of this Dorian thing. I thought China took a shot at us, and we used our own, because you can look on. By the way, I'm pretty sure that I put the link in there. Yeah, Mike Morales, I believe. Oh, no, no, no. High Impact Vlogs. I know of High Impact Flicks, and I was subscribed to him. I didn't know about High Impact Vlogs, and he also had a video on it. And he actually caught live the DE, if you know what I'm saying, that energy DE. He actually catches it, and I know what it is because I've seen it so many times. I've seen them in Nevada. I've seen them, certain places you'll see it, and the radar will pick it up. Certain radars. This radar picked it up as soon as this storm, like, made like it stalled just enough that I think it caught the jet stream up the East Coast instead of hitting Florida, and that's exactly when this DE hit. This you could see this black thing coming out right from I couldn't tell where it was coming from. You could see it going right through Florida, over into the Atlantic, and going right into the storm. And from that point forward, all the models changed and had it going up the East Coast. Before that, the thought was it was going to nail Florida. I was like, whoa, this is going to be bad. So basically, and what I think happened with Florence was it was going to be bad, but they kind of did the same thing and just kind of weakened it. But before it was weakened, and this is why I said Kelly Kebo's onto it, because she said no name when I was talking about Texas and who's the guy who, well, I was talking about GW41, the president. And he was in Houston. He had his underground bunker in Houston. And a lot of people seem to think that this whole thing with Harvey was kind of like flooding him out, because he was the last one that had actual power. He really still had power, even at his age. Very intelligent, even at his age. Again, Mr. 1,000 Points of Light, New World Order, all that. He's a very intelligent man. Very deceptively evil too. You wouldn't think it, but he was extremely evil. In fact, Curious George supposedly was based on him because he was and Poppy Bush. The one who stole Tesla's secrets. Yeah, that guy. CIA, all that. Yeah. So was his son, obviously. Supposedly, Curious George is actually based on GW41. Pretty interesting. And you gotta think, back then, one of the biggest players was Poppy Bush. But anyways, what I was talking about Florence, and that's about No Name, because what a lot of people don't know is that he had an island out there, and he was out there, and supposedly they were trying to get to No Name out there, something to do with an island where he was hiding out in North Carolina or South Carolina, one or the other. There was an island that something with him, and that's what Florence was all about. So I found that very interesting as well. I had heard about the whole thing with Javi, but I never heard about No Name being associated with this island in North Carolina. Again, all this information's in the description. So you put all this together, and then you look at what happened with Epstein. Then you look at the East Coast of St. Thomas and how that used to be like where they would ship them out of to go to Epstein Island. And then you factor in Disney and how it went right over Disney as well. And then you factor in Freeport and how it's owned by China. And they partnered in Shanghai with the Dutch, and especially with their number one company, Maersk. And the Dutch also bought a bunch of those ports down there. And that's exactly where that storm continued to. It continued right over their ports, and it just sat there and demolished it. Demolished it. So, you know what? And also, I know that submarines came in and out of that port. It was extremely deep, which is not normal to that area. But for that port in particular, it was like right offshore. It would drop to thousands of feet. So you put this all together, the fact that it stalled the way it did, and I remember watching before the storm was even close to hitting, and they had all the different like this. They were all making fun of the president one time for mentioning Alabama. Well, at the beginning, I remember the mean or the median track was actually going up the west coast of Florida and hitting Floribama, you know? So basically like Pensacola and just a little bit west into Alabama, maybe a little bit of Mississippi. So they had a hit in Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, uh, the west coast of Florida, Miami, east coast of Florida. They didn't have any models showing it, having it do what it did. And it's not like they didn't know that, you know, in like, I don't know, 100 hours that that jet stream was going to change and it would have a better chance of going right up the east coast and kind of clipping those islands off the North Carolina. They call the chin of the boxer of the US. That's what they call it, I guess. And so so not to take away, I'm sure those islands are gonna get it pretty bad, but I think North Carolina is gonna be okay. South Carolina is gonna be okay, but still, it sucks. It's gonna be very inconvenient. But I think that a lot was accomplished. I don't think that him buying Greenland was by accident. I think that was a message. I think there was more to it, just like a lot of what he does. The whole thing, dead center, and all this. Well, I think he wanted people to follow the dead center of that storm, and I'm continuing to follow it. And I'm going to see what's going on where it's going now in the Carolinas. I'm just going to see if there's any history, if it matches up. But I think it was really kind of based on the real damage that went on, with the Caribbean, in the Bermuda Triangle and everything. So that's what I came across. It all made sense. It all makes sense. Also, the Dutch with Greenland, don't forget about that. And when he said that, they asked the Dutch. I think they have presidents there, the Dutch president or prime minister, whatever it might be, and he was like, "What? No, no, that's like the craziest thing." And of course, they all made fun of him, but there was more to it. I knew there was more to it, and I think he would. I think that they knew that this prime minister, president of Denmark, knew this. Have I ever seen? Yeah, Denmark, right? Yeah. So he knew this. He knew exactly what was going on. He knew he had just made this deal with Shanghai, and his number one business was involved. They're the shipping container, Maersk, Maersk. He knows that what they just got into, and he knows that China's in a trade war with the United States, and that the United States is not going to be happy about that. So what did the United States do? I think that that nightmare of an island, the Epstein Island, along with all the ports they used to ship these kids out of, along with their Disneyland honeypot, along with Freeport, which was where submarines could come in and out of and were coming in and out of. But even more importantly, maybe more importantly, was the port that China had bought, along with other ports that are all along down there, along with the Dutch, and they just partnered up with their shipping containers. Who's taking the hit here? It's not the United States. Yeah, we're helping and we'll provide humanitarian aid, and rightfully so. Because, like I said at the beginning of this video, when powerful men and rich men go to war, unfortunately, the poor people of this world are the collateral damage. And I know that if Trump could have zero collateral damage, he would have it that way. But I also know that the ones who are the most desperate, which in this case is the deep state, is China as well, you know, is the Dutch, basically like they basically created the EU. I mean, they're known for their banks and their, just all their tactics throughout history. They met their match. They met their match, and they were right on our doorstep, operating, doing all kinds of crap. And you know what? That hellhole of an island where they did stuff to the children, the place where they got the children, the honeypot that they used, that Disneyland castaway, along with the port where they were like making big money and killing us in trade. It's all gone. It's all gone. And there's a reason Trump said, "Fall the dead center of the storm," because it goes over them all. And there's also a reason why he said he's going to buy Greenland. He basically just did. All right, that hurricane, the damage he just caused to their company with all those shipping containers and all their ports and their buddies, the Chinese, guess what? He basically just did buy Greenland. All right, with the money that they just lost. All right, we're dealing with a genius here. He's almost like really like so like sharp that it almost makes you like worry a little bit because I also know that there is a like a spiritual battle going on at the same time. So it's like, I always try to stay rooted in that and make sure that's my number one thing. And I'm always gonna root for America, but number one, I'm gonna root for God. I'm gonna root for Jesus. I'm gonna make sure, you know, yeah, it's almost scary how like he just seems to understand things that others don't. They don't know how to deal with this guy. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm going to continue tracking it. Also, another thing, I reported to you guys a few weeks ago. 8chan went down. Well, their owner, their lawyer, were both in court today. They were, or the lawyer was in court, and then they both were also at a congressional hearing. Well, we know that it's the House. And I also saw when I first was going live, I saw that the House Judiciary Committee was doing a press conference in 30 minutes. So about 45 minutes ago, they must have had a press conference. I'm curious what that was about. I'm curious if it was about 8chan because supposedly the boards are going to be back up. They were able to prove like, hey, listen, like, yes, an anonymous source wrote, I'm going to do something, and then that thing happened. But anybody who goes in the chans has a level of understanding about the way things work, and they understand that when these shootings happen, it doesn't actually help the cause. In fact, it hurts the cause. It's like no one is like, yes, yeah, 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 those people are dead. Yeah, that's great. Yes, all right, that's the way to do it. That's really gonna help everything. No, they're thinking, what the hell is wrong with that person? Wow, it has to be, somebody pretending to be, or some type of mind control, or something. I mean, I've had hypnotists prove to me that they could have someone do something against their will through hypnotism. I've seen it proven to me, not just like watching videos in person. It wasn't like putting their hand in the air or take their shoe and use it as a phone. No, he literally had this person like ready to commit a criminal act. It was amazing to me. So don't underestimate hypnotism. One thing that they all have in common is that they've all had just seen a therapist and they're on antipsychotics. I know some people get help from antipsychotics. Listen, I get depressed a lot, but I avoid antipsychotics like the plague. I do not touch antipsychotics. Before I knew any better, I had tried them at a point. Half of them either they'll make you gain weight or lose weight, or they can cause erectile dysfunction. It's like the worst stuff you could think of. They can cause they can cause you actually to not just be depressed but be suicidal. It'll make it like 10 times worse. Like, I don't get it. Or it can have like adverse effects where it's like you're racy and it's like, I don't know. What I've learned is that we all we all like go through life, and I have an associate's in psychology, and we all go through life and we have learned behaviors, and it's how we learn how to deal with problems that we get these learned behaviors. It's like Pavlov with the dogs. They would salivate at the sound of a bell because every time he rang a bell, he'd feed them. Well, then it got to the point where he stopped feeding them when he rang the bell, but if they ever heard a bell, they would salivate. It's just, we, without knowing it, we condition ourselves. And if you condition yourself with a pill, then anytime you have a problem, you're going to reach for a pill. And that's why we have so many drug addicts and so many alcoholics, and because you're going to reach for a substance every time you're having problems instead of working through it. And I think that it's best to work through your problems. And I know, and I kind of hate that approach. Like, come on, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I mean, depression can be a MF. I get it. I do. I totally understand. But you know, turning to some of these meds isn't exactly always the answer either. If you are going to turn to meds, make sure that you know the therapist, make sure that, there's somebody that you're talking to that you can trust in your real life too. All right. Because in a lot of situations, with technology, everybody's just kind of so apart and they're so we're all connected, but we've never been further apart. And I know it's almost like a generic thing to say nowadays, but it's true. And a lot of people feel disenfranchised. And if you're ever thinking about doing something stupid, there are people who care. Just you want to be careful with some of the meds. That's all I'm saying. Ask questions and, at least give other things a try before, it shouldn't be your first reaction shouldn't be take a pill. It should be like, how do I figure this out? Or just feel the pain. And as long as you're not suicidal, feel that pain. You'll be stronger for it. I promise you. Because the people who take the quick way, in the end, it doesn't work out for those people. So, you know, um, that's kind of like what China did with their economy. They took the cheap way, the quick way, and all it took was somebody with a little bit of know-how, and he's dismantling them. And now their little operation that they had going right on at our doorstep, he just dismantled that as well. And I think that's what this hurricane was all about. I told you what I think Harvey was all about in Florence. Florence is also was actually meant for McCain. McCain had this property he was hiding out, and he was dead just months later as well. I don't know. Could all be coincidences, but I don't believe in coincidences. And I believe that the future proves the past. And all of a sudden, after these congressional hearings, word is the Chans are going to be back up by the end of the week. So, I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but that's what they're saying. That's what the lawyer's saying. That's what the owner's saying. It's kind of like it's a place where people can talk, and what's any different than, I mean, that's a slippery slope when you start taking down a message board. I mean, that's what people are doing all day. It's just a different type of message board, whether it's with pictures or tweets or what's on your mind. Well, on the Chans, it's just a lot less. I don't know. Your data is actually protected. To me, it seems like they kind of have the right idea as far as protecting their users' data and things like that, and being anonymous and whereas nowadays that you do something on Facebook, it can be used in court. So please be careful on some, the one place where people could actually just feel safe, they had to take that away. And they took it away because they figured it out. They figured out what I figured out and what you figured out, that Q's legit, and that it's all coming to an end pretty soon. The Inspector General report is going to drop. Cuba is going to drop his report as well. And then the ace in the hole that nobody knew about, that seemed to be a big surprise, even to the Allies, but this is a very sophisticated operation, was out of Connecticut, of all places. Durham is going to have his report ready as well. So it's going to be glorious. It's all going to be coming in the next few weeks. And, just also don't forget that while all that's going on, a lot of people are going to be waking up. They're going to be shocked. It's not the time to rub it in people's faces. As much as I want to be like, see, I've been telling you for years. I want so many of my family. I just want to be like, what you just found out, I told you 2 years ago, and you legit almost put me in a mental institution. Like, they didn't really, but you know what I mean. Like in their minds, like, dude, you are losing your mind. What's wrong with you? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm working. I'm going to school. I just know truth when it hits me, and I've had exposure to top secret material for years in the Navy, and I know it when I see it, and it's legit. And I'm telling you guys, you're gonna find out, and a lot of people are gonna be shocked. Don't rub it in their faces. This can be a way to unify, and just know that what we learned through these reports and basically just the whole operation is only 20% of the whole. 80% of it's gonna stay private because it's just too much. I mean, we're talking rituals and a lot of demonic activity, and it's the type of stuff that's you almost can't tell it all. You can't, but the truth will be there. According to Q, if you want to know it all, you can. There will be a way to figure it out. You will, if you do follow it and you follow it, and you go through it and you really research, you'll be able to find out most of that other 80%. Um, so, anyways, that's what I got for today. So Chan should be back up. I expect Q to be back up. Although I don't think Q is really even needed anymore. I think he kind of did his job as far as like posting. I don't think there's really any posts needed anymore. All the truth's coming out. These reports, they're going to be extremely damning. And every single time I even hear them talk, it seems like Hannity has like a inside into this, because he had a lot of stuff they were talking about Q. He was talking about then. So either he uses the boards for research, but it seems like not, because the boards have been down and he's been coming out with all kinds of information. I mean, a lot of people talk to him, or I think he was using the boards, and now people like Lindsey Graham, who are in the know, giving him information, and Judicial Watch, and some of these that are in the know, they are giving him information. His show is worth recording and kind of going through, because he is in the know on a lot. And he does drop a lot of stuff on his show. It's unbelievable how much stuff he drops on the show that comes true. So he does have, some real journalistic capabilities where, you can kind of get an idea of some of the behind the scenes stuff. He might not say it so blatantly, but he makes it clear enough, I think, and it comes true. So anyways, you guys will see those three reports, those three people. You're gonna hear all that from them, and then you know what? This I'm actually gonna do a whole video on this. There's actually some other stuff that I really want to drive home before it's all released. So I'm gonna save some of it, but I think that step one will be getting the Chans back up, and they were up there with the House Judiciary Committee, or maybe it was the Senate Judiciary Committee. I don't know. One of the judiciary committees. They were up there with them. Oh no, it must have. Yeah, the congressional. So yeah, so they were up there, and I'll be checking that out as soon as I'm done. As soon as I hang up here, I'm gonna go and watch that. Yeah, it's best not to throw in there. I think this is a good opportunity to come together. And Kelly Q, if you didn't catch it, yeah, when you said no name, I feel like that's what Florence was about. It was like they kind of like stopped it in its tracks as far as like power. But from what I'm hearing from this one source, they were talking about the whole thing with, you know, George 41. That was the reason for Harvey, and how it stalled, like almost like this one. And but that one left, and then unexpectedly, usually when it starts moving after it hits land, it doesn't turn around and go back into the land, the same exact spot. So that one was almost like obvious. But that was supposed to be for GW41, and Florence was supposed to be hitting where No Name was at the time, which was an island off of North Carolina. And you'd think he would get out of there, though. That's the only thing that confuses me, is you'd think he would get out of there. Although I think that he wasn't doing too well, and I think that really what they wanted to do with that one was not have it so it comes in and, causes, North Carolina or even the islands to be like demolished. but enough for the power to go out and them to perform an operation. And I don't mean an operation on his head, I mean a military operation to get him. And that's exactly what I think they did. Stick the hose in and turn it on full force. Watch the other end. Switch to right. Yes. Beautiful. I love it. Is that you, Kelly? I just wrote that. That is beautiful. I'll end it on that note. First, I'll say, um, if you guys are looking for red pills, you know where to come get your Pez. And we're gonna end on this note. Stick the hose into the entrance and turn it on full force. Watch the other entrances for rats that emerge. And once the rats are gone, once the rats emerge, hit them with a shovel. And once they're gone, bury their bodies and fill the holes with their bodies, and you know, problem gone. I didn't say it as good as she wrote it, but I think that's kind of the whole idea of what's going on here. Is That's exactly what happened, and with everything we're doing, they can't just stay still because they will be drowned out. And I don't mean even literally by the hurricane. I mean by information. They will be, just caught in a shitstorm. So what happens? They start getting sloppy. Desperate people get sloppy. I mean, look at their number one ally was the media. Have you guys turned on CNN lately? Like seriously, have you? It is like so unprofessional. It's like they're almost like crying, smiling through their teeth, like, yeah, totally, yeah. Oh, he's done, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, he is not. Yeah, no, I don't see him getting by this one. No, I don't see him getting past this one. Oh wait, that was a trick to set us up, and we fell for it every time, and nobody watches us anymore. Okay, that's exactly what's happening. So if you guys didn't catch the whole video, I encourage you do, because like I said, they took the dead center, the eye of this storm, and it was almost like a magnifying glass. It just magnified every shithole down there, or problem, or China port, that where they're doing shady stuff with the Dutch, who oh, I want to buy Greenland. Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love it because it's just so obvious now. And by the way, the symbol. By the way, a little bit about so the owner, they I forget the last name, but the owner of Maersk, Maersk. I forgot to say this. I almost said it. I don't know why I didn't. Of course, royalty, right? Their lineage goes back to the royalty of Norway. So, like I said, there were these 13 bloodlines, and I really do believe in it. And that's how we got the royalty and all this stuff. And it's all tied in with the reptilians. In fact, if you look at my the thumbnail for this, in the top right of the thumbnail, you'll see it. You'll see a tweet from Maersk, from the company Maersk, and they wrote, "Our reptilian brains came up with this idea." Da da da. They legit put that as a tweet. Legit. Of course, they're trying to like, aha, joke, but no, like that's part of the problem with Satanism and stuff like that. Is like their black magic doesn't work unless they kind of tell you about it. And it's almost like they have to have also like symbology, and Q always said symbology would be their downfall. And they guess what this symbol is? The seven pointed star, and it's literally identical to the seven pointed star on Game of Thrones, the seven pointed star that you'll see sometimes used in witchcraft, as well as many other examples that are all also in the description and on the thumbnail. By the way, the thumbnail is loaded. Check it out. So the owner, yes, the right now of all of all the people, I forget the last name. That's the only thing that's messing me up. But it's in there. It's in the when you look up Maersk and the Wikipedia. If somebody wants to put it there, that way I have to stop saying I forgot the name. Yeah, Satan. Yeah, I actually, you're not the first person that I've seen that Satan being a not being really being a serpent. Um, I don't know. I know that goat is a big one, and also I know that for some reason when it like this is like believe it or not like all the stuff. But the mother of my child, one of the things that really got to her was I was like, watch of all the animals in the animal kingdom, you're gonna see the goat everywhere. And once I told her that, she noticed it, and she's like, "Why is it?" I said, "Goats and owls." And then she started noticing nothing but goats and owls. She's like, I haven't even seen a different animal besides a goat or an owl or a sheep. I was like, well, that's part of it. They're kind of, it's the goat and the separate the goats from the sheep. That's what Jesus is going to do. He's going to separate the goats from the sheep. And then speaking of owls, the woman who is, lineage of Norwegian royalty, okay? She was born in, by the way, she's the one that was born in either 42 or 44. And she took over the estate of that family. And her first name, it's like Yuga, Yuga, or something like that. You guys will see it. It's like a weird name. Guess what it means? Its exact literal meaning owl. So it's her literal name is Owl, and then this last name that goes back to royalty, which most likely goes back to the 13 bloodlines. And yeah, that's the owners of Maersk. You couldn't make this stuff up, folks. So, yeah, take that. So let's let that hose kind of sit right there. And when the rats come out, have your shovels ready because we're cleaning this crap up. All right, guys. Take care. Red pill. I'll try to catch you guys tonight. All right. Take care. And I'm warning you people. For those of you guys out there who are talking about veterans and talking crap about veterans, I see you. I see you. All right. That's my warning, and that's the only warning you'll get.